Dad vs Entitled Dad. Hi. So this deserves a little backstory. Also the English is kind of bad and my boss gave me permission to share this fuckery. My boss, let's call him Vincent, used to be married to this awful woman named Catherine. Catherine was awful. She used to beat my boss and call him awful names. She was racist to her dark-skinned children and preferred the light-skinned ones. My boss became an alcoholic and committed suicide a couple times, just to escape her and his awful-ass life. She left me alone for the most part, but when Catherine and her daughter got together, they loved torturing me. My boss stayed with Catherine for over 20 years and even though my boss was the breadwinner, Catherine had him wrapped around her tongue. He loved her, he truly did, but my boss was afraid of Catherine. So my boss has 7 kids. 3 out of the 7 are actually my boss's biological children. The boss knew about the very first affair. When you're in an interracial relationship and a baby come out darker than the mother, red flags to be throttled. He not a heartless bastard to leave a woman with a 2-year-old and a newborn, so he stayed with her. But what made my boss file for divorce, however, was him walking on his ex-wife giving his brother head, not even 15 minutes after we left. Catherine made my boss like hell out of spite, just to take one thing that makes him happy. The kids. She tried to use the card that none of the children possess anyway, so why should he get them? So, the twins and the boss's youngest daughter is Lucifer's, the name I use for my boss's brother. My boss gave Catherine a lot of money and a couple homes for custody of the kids. It wasn't until recently when my boss finally got away from her clutches. He stopped drinking and he's happier. So this happened about like the beginning of 2019. Catherine and my boss got divorced in August of 2018. So it wasn't separated from it long. Catherine was still trying to act like the children's mother, so Catherine will come around and take the for a couple of days. Around this time Catherine and Lucifer was officially dating, instead of hiding in the shadows, and if memory serves me correctly, I believed Catherine was pregnant with their daughter at this time, so Catherine came to pick up the kids and left with Lucifer. And when they got back home Lucifer and my boss's mother, Lucifer stayed to talk with his mom while I took the kids upstairs. I noticed the twins' eyes were puffy and red, like they had been crying. I asked them what's wrong and them being stubborn little bastards like they are, they didn't budge. I pushed and pushed, then twin 2 started crying. I was surprised. I noticed they started acting differently a couple of weeks prior. aka less chaotic. Twin 1 was trying to be stone-faced but eventually he started crying too. They hugged me, and then I was more confused, because I never saw the twins cry or be that broken. You see, the twins crave violence. They will curse you out, they will hit you, and they will pull pranks. Lying, hiding every piece of electronics in the house that isn't hooked up by cords. Pouring water on you while you slept and taping their little brother to the ceiling. They have calmed down a lot but they're still little chaotic little dudes. There's a reason why their brother called them Chihuahua and Pomeranian. Finally twin 1 asked me, do my dad love us? I told him that their dad loves them and why would they ever think that? Apparently, Catherine was trying to brainwash the kids, because she wanted them to live with her and Lucifer. Saying how their father won't love them if they're not stopped acting like little chaotic asshole. So that's why they were being nice. I was pissed. I took them to their dad, who was trying to avoid his ex-wife the best he could. We told their dad what they told me. My boss consoled them, saying how he will love them no matter what they do. My boss was upset but not pissed. But the thing that pissed him off, however, was that twin 2 that split that they knew about Lucifer being their biological father and that their mom was forcing them to call Lucifer dad. The boss crouches down to the twins' level, kisses them on the head, his way of saying everything is going to be alright. Then he went downstairs to confront his brother. I followed him, telling him not to do anything stupid. My boss confronted Lucifer and started arguing with him in Dutch. My Dutch was very rusty back then and sadly I had no idea what he was saying. However, sometime in the conversation changed, my boss stepped down and started cowering. Lucifer, like the proud cocky prick that is, started getting in my boss's face. And in English Lucifer said, "Look at you, cowering like a little pussy that you are." Lucifer started pushing my boss as he continued, "You call yourself a man, but all I see is that little coward that I saw back then. You are a pussy, Vincent. You were a pussy then and are a pussy now. You couldn't even stand up to your own wife. Is that why your wife kept falling back to me? Because she needed dick and not a pussy?" Only tried to step in, but Lucifer sealed his fate. My boss took one last puff of the cigarette, then punched Lucifer right in the face. I was shocked, almost speechless, and Lucifer was surprised. There's one sad thing that my boss and I bonded over. We both have one sibling that borderline tortured us. My twin sister and Lucifer. Lucifer and my sister are the same. They both tortured us, bullied us in front of others, and made us cry just because. But there's one thing that Lucifer doesn't have in common with my twin sister, is that Lucifer didn't rape his little brother, he just did it to me. Apparently what Lucifer did to it is actually grooming. Thank you, therapy. I hope that the girl he's dating now snapped that ass sandwich with cunt breath dick like a gross dick, so when my boss punches Lucifer in the face, he said that was the most satisfying shit he has ever felt. Lucifer clenching his now bleeding nose, surprised that his usual intimidation strategy didn't work. My boss stood his ground for the very first time. Then they got into a dad fight. Sorry, I've been watching too much dead meat. Omar was screaming at them to stop. And all I could do was watch. Then the twins came down and the sight of violence made them happy. Twin 1 was cheering fight. 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 And Twin 2 was quoting things like a WWE announcer who's climbing on the top rope. Oh no, he got a chair. As I was dragging them away, Twin 1 screamed, "Kick his ass, daddy." I love them. Both Lucifers and my boss's oldest son got them separated. My boss's son was trying to hold his dad back as my boss screamed, "Your blood might run through their veins, but they are my kids, not yours, and I won't let you take my family." Catherine dragged Lucifer into the car and they both sped off. My boss brushed all of us off and went into his office. So fast forward to dinner time and I realized he hadn't come out to eat, so I brought him his plate and realized he was drinking. I made him eat food with one hand and I cleaned off his knuckles on the other. Then I started the usual routine, of taking his huge drunken ass up the stairs to put him in his bed, taking off his shoes, his belt and his tie, and sending out his clothes for the next day. I tucked him into bed and then he apologized. He hoped that he didn't scare me. I told him that I was proud of him for standing up for himself. And in his drunken stupor he yelled, "You know what? I'm proud of you too."